Hello and welcome to a CBK gaming video. Join us as we discuss and review Power Grid by Rio Grande Games. So, what is Power Grid? More importantly, does it belong in your collection? Well, I'm going to say from the outset, right now, yes, this is a great fun game. If you enjoy competitive bidding games, there's an element that you can frustrate your opponents and cause and play an aggressive game, but mostly this game is about how well you as a player do. You don't attack other players, you don't take from other players. You can frustrate them by picking and thinking ahead of them or getting ahead of them on the map, or taking the resources that they wanted, or taking the power station that they wanted, but that is it. So in that context, this is a sort of game that I would argue in my family would not, when I was younger, have caused arguments as often they did when they were more conflict-driven games. So that's something to take into consideration. I know that some people think about how their families interact and they don't want something that could spark argument around the table, because this is being played for fun. So let's go through the mechanics first, and the aim and objective of the game. So, the objective of the game is to build a certain amount of, or provide energy to a certain amount of cities. You do that by owning power stations. You bid for those power stations, and they will require a certain amount of resource, and they will provide a certain amount of energy to those cities that you have placed your house marking that is your territory. In that number changes, so the winning number changes depending on how many players there are. You may have 2 players, or you can have 6 players. I think that we had the most fun with this at 5 players. 2 players can be enjoyable, but there is a mechanic in here to add another element, adding a third chaos player, if you like. That didn't really go very well for me. I prefer having the human players rather than an AI. So, Phase 2 begins when the number of cities have been provided energy to, and that is, I think in a 5 player, that's 7 cities. That then means that other players can start to power cities that other players have already claimed. So every city has the ability to have 3 players power that city. So it starts at I think it's 10 electrons, which is the currency used in the game. I think it's then, looking at this, is 20 electrons and 30 electrons. Sorry, 10, 15 and 20. So that's how much money you have to spend to have a place or power that city. Phase 3 begins when a Phase 3 card is drawn from the deck of power plants. That means that you're beginning to get to the end game. That's the start of the end game. The auction house changes, and players are able to have 3 players inside a city, powering a city. The auction phase. There are a number of power plants ranging from coal-fired, oil-fired, both. Nuclear power plants, you've got power plants that run on rubbish, you've got wind farms, and then the power of science, which is one of the best cards in the game. The first player is the player that is either powering the most cities or has the most modern power plant. So that's the most expensive power plant. Players can only have 3 power plants at a time, and you need to, as a win condition, again, this changes depending on how many players there are, but I think again for a 5-player game, 4 or 5-player game, it was to power 17 cities. You do that by buying these power plants. The player with as I said, either is powering the most power plant, powering those cities, or has the most modern power plant, has to go first. This means that they select a new power plant they want to bid for, or pass, and they will put a number on that. Other players then get the opportunity to bid on that and outbid them. It keeps going until one person says, no, that's it, that's the final amount. And that player then has their power plant, and the next player goes. And it goes until all players have finished, and then that order is reversed. So it's a nice way of making sure that you don't get a runaway winner.
The game's balanced.
Yes. The reversal means that at the stage where you then buy your resources, the player with powering the least cities, or with the lowest cost power plant, is able to get resources for a cheaper price, usually a cheaper price, which means they have a better chance of powering more cities, or it's cheaper for them to power more cities. And you keep going like that until one player has reached the number of cities powered that is the win condition. You can go above that number to ensure that you are the winner, but once you hit that number, it is the last turn. We have found this game takes 45 minutes for 2-player, and I think we've played it for 2.5 hours to 3 hours with 5 of us. That was over Christmas. That might have been with some libation and chocolates and everything else. So I think once everybody knows the rules, that can easily get down to the 2-hour mark for 5 players, I believe. The components of the game. The components are really well done here. You have wooden tokens that you place representing that you're powering that city. You have wooden tokens representing the resources. The money is nicely made. It feels nice in your hand. I've always liked games where you get quite good products like that. The cards themselves are well made. The boards are vibrant, much more vibrant than the artwork on the main box.
The box does let itself down and doesn't do the game justice. And I just worry about how many people have walked past this on the shelf, taken a look at the box and just gone, not for us. And yet it could be the perfect game for them.
Oh, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
I'd looked at this before and thought, no, I don't think my friends and family are going to enjoy this. And actually, we really did. So I think the one criticism I have of this game is it needs better art to grab people. But also, art is a personal... So I don't like it. There are many people who obviously do, because this is a very popular game. It just, to me, doesn't make you look at the box and go, I really want that game. What's it about? It's quite obvious what it's about, I think. and it just feels it's a very dry topic, and it just doesn't convey the fun the game actually is, which is a real shame. The maps, as I said, vibrant, really nicely coloured, really easy to see. Haven't spoken to our colourblind friends to see whether that actually is a problem, because I do fear that the blue and the purple and the reds, I think they might be a problem for some of our...
They might be similar hues and tones that, yeah, there might be a bit of a problem with blind colouredness, but I think as long as the white borders between them are visible enough, you can see what areas you're branching into, so you might be okay.
And then you've got expansions. Now, these expansions I think were £12 and £13. And I think these are really well done. They just add some different maps with slightly different rules. There are other expansions. There's another set of cards, I think, as an expansion. There's plenty of different maps. The maps have some slight differences, as I say. So the core map, you have Germany one side, the US the other. To reflect that Germany, after Fukushima, has a reticence to use nuclear power, there is a rule around nuclear energy, and that uranium has a chance of being unavailable at a certain point. For America, they always have coal. It might cost you more, but there is always an opportunity to buy coal. Then you have, so this is from memory, we've got a map with Canada and a part, I think it's Bavaria. We've got a map of Italy and of France. They have their own little rule sets. I think Bavaria, they changed the turn order. That's quite nice. Canada has a much stronger interest in renewable energy, in particular anything water related, so that's reflected in their rule set. On the French map, they've got some large cities, Paris, etc. So the map is slightly differently laid out. There's, I think, more opportunities. And Italy, everything is a bit slower. It's a lot harder. There's a lot more cost involved in jumping to another city. So it changes the speed and the pace of the game. Overall, I really like that idea. Can't wait. We haven't played those expansions, and we will do, and we will give an update on how we found the expansions. But right now, looking at it from this perspective, I really like that idea. They're not overly expensive. They fit in the box quite nicely. I think that's a good thing.
Yes, yeah. And I just think it's a lovely, balanced game, and it's my sort of game. It's doing the best that you can against the other opponents doing the best they can. And I love that you can actually build little strategies into it. And you can either go down the road of, I know sort of the other player's going to want that power plant, so I'm going to try and outbid them and get them to spend more money than they're willing to, which is fine, you can go for that. But if you end up winning the bid, you're then spending money you weren't expecting to, which means you've got less to spend on resources and your cities. So it's balanced that way, that you can try and be a bit sort of more competitive, but it could backfire on you at the same time. And there's other strategies of picking a particular city to start in, because every city's got a cost to get to the next one. Depending on how close it is, how far away, the cost differs. If you manage to get into one that's got others near you, quite cheaply you can start expanding your empire. And if you're in phase 1, other players can't join your city, so you can actually get that area. But at the same time, as soon as phase 2 comes in, they can all jump into those cities with you, because they haven't been spending as much on buying the cities as you have. And so it's very, very well done in that respect. And I really, really do enjoy this game. And I get the same feel for it that I do for Ticket to Ride. It's got that family.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. I think it is a better game than Ticket to Ride. I enjoy Ticket to Ride, but I don't think it's a great game. This I really enjoy. But it's all down to personal preference. So I think that's answered why we think it belongs in your collection. If you like these sorts of games, then yes, ignore the artwork. You may really like the artwork. Fantastic. If you do, we'd love to hear from you. Pop a message in the comment telling us how wrong we are. Because art's subjective. I don't like it. Pretty sure other people must do.
It doesn't inspire me to turn the box over and read about it on the back.
So all that's left to say is to say thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this, please consider giving a like and subscribing. It means a lot to us. We're beginning to start filming again now that we've got ourselves settled in our new house and set up the studio area, as you can see. We're really looking forward to bringing more videos throughout this year, and perhaps filming in some different locations now that we have 2 games rooms. And we'll be getting this Geek and Sun table will be being moved to our second games room, and we have a new quite amazing table turning up very shortly, which we're really looking forward to showing off. Really cannot wait for Geek and Sun to deliver sort of our dream table, our role-playing table. We are going to be considering also videoing some of our role-playing, or at least videoing and interviewing some of the characters. We're beginning in March a new Warhammer Fantasy roleplay with friends from sort of all over the UK that are collating here, and then we're going to play that over a weekend. Really looking forward to that, and it might be a really nice, interesting opportunity to bring something slightly different in. Next review is going to be, so we were going to try and move back onto a weekly schedule. We may have to slowly move up to that because we're just getting ourselves started again. Likely that we're going to be doing Dungeon Mayhem review that we did a while ago, and unfortunately I don't know what happened, the cards became corrupt, but we lost all of that, so we'll redo that. And then we're going to be looking at Magnate the First City, which friends introduced to us actually this week just gone. We really enjoyed that, actually bought a copy. It's got a lot of feel to me, or similarity to Acquire, which is one of my personal favourite games of all time. We'll also be doing a couple of top 10s for the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. So we'll be going through our top 10 cooperative games in 2022. We'll be doing our top 10 competitive games of 2022, and then we'll also be looking at what we're most excited for in 2023. So thank you very much for watching, and we look forward to bringing more videos to you through the rest of the year. I apologise for our dog that's decided to start bringing her chew toy into the studio whilst we're filming. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week for more game reviews.
Bye.
Bye.